thank you all for joining the session. So today we are pleased to have Mr. Adam Contos joining for us. Has an extensive background as the former CEO of Remax Holdings, one of the largest names in the real estate industry, and also he's the best-selling author of Start with a Win, which makes him an excellent source of insight and knowledge for our audience. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So first of all, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for agreeing to share your insights on the future of leadership. Your background as a former CEO of Remax Holding, and not a lot of people know this, but you have also had a career in military and law enforcement. So this makes it certainly unique, and I'm sure our audience would love to hear more about your journey. So can you tell us a little about how your experience as a law enforcement officer influenced your perspective on leadership and success?
Sure. First of all, hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm excited to share my story and some of these leadership principles that we're going to dig into. A little bit about my background. So the day after I graduated high school, I joined the United States Marines. So while all of my friends were going off to parties and then off to university, I went off to the military and went to boot camp. I went into the reserves after that, so I was able to have a job, a civilian job, while I was still working with the military in the United States. And I got into law enforcement. I am a third generation in law enforcement. My grandfather was in law enforcement. He actually investigated the mafia. So you may have heard the name Al Capone, who was a mafia mobster in the 1940s in the United States. Well, my grandfather was one of the people who investigated him. And then my father got into law enforcement, also working for the federal government, kind of doing the same thing. And then I saw that my career path was that direction. So when I turned 21, I went to police academy and became a police officer. I was also attending college at night, attending university at night to work on my degree, and I dropped out twice. It wasn't working out real well for me. Eventually, I went back and finished college, got my MBA, but I guess I wasn't ready. But I got into law enforcement, and I figured out that I really loved helping people. And this is a key aspect of leadership, helping people. We have to be interested in the betterment, the welfare of other people, instead of just doing our job. There has to be truly this heartfelt reason for helping people. So when you find that, it gives you your why. I progressed in law enforcement and I became the SWAT commander. So you might know what SWAT teams do. We kick in doors, we blow things up, and we save people. So it was a lot of fun. I was in charge of the SWAT team. It was probably the best job in law enforcement because I didn't have to go to regular calls. I just went to the fun ones where we got to do a lot of great things. I also was an entrepreneur during this time. I started an online sales business selling government supplies during the late 1990s. Now, during the late 1990s, the internet was very new. So a lot of people were afraid to transact on the internet. They were afraid to put in credit card information. There were really no billing platforms. And so you were mixing old and new thought in creating a business. While it was profitable, the supply chain management and then the blend of what do you have to do in person versus what can you do online was very ominous, and it was confusing to a lot. So I switched that business to a consulting company. I was a counterterrorism instructor and homeland security instructor. So I started a security consulting company and closed down the supply company where I didn't have to worry about supply chain issues. So I started doing that, and I recognized that real estate agents were getting hurt or killed doing their jobs. And I know you've seen that in India as well, because I've seen it in India, and it happens all over the world. It's everywhere. Unfortunately, people like to victimize others every now and then, and you have crime. But there are ways that you can help prevent that. So I built a business around that. The real estate industry hired me to teach that, and Remax, you know who Remax is, as a great presence in India. Remax hired me to come in and teach real estate agents how not to get hurt or killed during their jobs. What I grew from that was I understood the business of franchising. Remax is a real estate franchise. Remax is not a real estate company, it's a real estate franchise. And those local franchises are the ones who do business within the community. All business is done within the community. That's where the customers are. The customers are you, me, the people around us, our families. That's where the customers are in the B2C space. So my job was to consult to those local franchises and help them grow their business in the local space. I learned a lot about leadership during that time also, because I took those tenets that I learned in the military and also in law enforcement, and I deployed them in business. Now everybody says, what does that have to do with business? What does law enforcement or the military have to do with business? It has everything to do with business, because you are creating leadership and influence over others and helping them achieve their goals. More importantly, in business and in leadership, you're meeting people, understanding their challenges, earning their trust, and then standing alongside them in order to help them solve their problems. Sitting behind a computer someplace or in a room someplace in a meeting or trying to be as far away from your customer as possible, even for a CEO, is not a good plan, because you have extra hurdles that you have to get over in order to complete that business. Then the primary one being trust. Trust happens through interpersonal communication. We lost a lot of trust when our leaders started sitting in an ivory tower someplace or a corner office and decided that they were too good to talk to the customers. That's not me. I believe in talking to the customers. So that's really kind of the foundation of where I got that. It was about helping people, building trust, solving problems, and working together. Because if people believe that you have their interests in mind and you're giving into that relationship, they want to work with you generally. So that gives you a little bit of a flyover as to some of my what I brought forward.
So you have had the opportunity to lead a very well-known brand during some challenging times. And also your book, Start with a Win, it delves in topics of leadership during times of crisis. So is it possible that you can share some of the lessons you learned as a leader of a well-known company, and how you approach these challenges and obstacles during your tenure as CEO?
Of course. So let's just be real here. Leadership faces challenges every day. That's why you're a leader. You're there to solve problems, and you're there to guide and influence people in order to solve those problems. And what we end up having happen to ourselves is we become overwhelmed, we become fearful or scared. We lose our ability to think clearly because we're frustrated. We're frustrated with not knowing the solution. And we have all these people around us that we're leading that are frustrated with us because they're looking for clarity and a path forward from their leader. Here's what I learned ultimately. First of all, you cannot think clearly when you're frustrated and overwhelmed. You have to take a step back and relax. You have to take a deep breath and then look around and ask questions. Why am I here? What's going on? What can I do to align these people I'm working with in order to solve the challenge that we have in front of us? Now, notice I'm not using emotional words. I'm not saying I'm concerned. Concerned is not a good place for a leader to be. I used to have a leader in one of my organizations that would come to me and say, I'm concerned about this. And I would say, leaders don't get concerned. Leaders seek solutions. Leaders ask questions. Now, you can think to yourself, I might be, a little challenged by this, or something bad might happen as a result of this. Sure, there's risk in business. There's risk in law enforcement. There's risk in leadership. That's why you're paid the big money, is to deal with the risk when you're a leader. If you're not willing to deal with risk, you're not going to be a leader, okay? That's just the way it is. Risk is okay. Seek risk, because with risk comes reward. Risk creates opportunity. It either creates fear or it creates opportunity? Which one are we going to interpret it as the leader? So a great example of this is during the pandemic. So what was it? March 12th of 2020. Okay, March 12th. That's right about when we all got shut down. It didn't matter where you were in the world. No matter where you were on the planet, you were told, go in your house, go in your apartment, go in your condo, and don't leave. And you're going, what do I do? Well, you figured it out, right? We figured out, how can I get some food? How can I coexist? How can I get along with the people that I'm locked in this area with? And then how can I get back to doing my work or my study? We figured it out. Why did we figure it out? Because we took a step back and we looked at, what do we need to do? What are my options? Is this best or is that best? We went through a decision process in our heads and we discovered what needed to happen. Now, what was being done is we were also receiving a great deal of fear. Look at the media, the press. We were getting a great deal of fear, and we were also worried, concerned, because we didn't know what was going to happen. There's this mystery COVID floating around, and I don't know if I'm going to get it. I've seen other people get it. Am I going to die from it? What's going to happen? You know, all of these different questions. So the reality is, when you sit right there at that point, there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. So don't spend the energy on it. Spend the energy on what you can do about it, what you know you can do about it. And there's an old saying that the plan might not be very valuable, but the art of planning is very valuable. So if you look at, what did leaders do? They communicated. The leaders that mattered led. By the way, leading is an action. It's not a title. Leaders lead, hiders hide. So did you see a CEO, a business leader, an education leader, anything just stop showing up? I did. And you know what happened? The people that looked to them as a leader lost trust and confidence in them instantly, because this person was casting fear, doubt, and overwhelm, because they did not have a plan. Leaders don't necessarily have to have the right plan, but they need to be creating a plan and create clarity and confidence in the people that they lead. So all of these things kind of play together to create this vision, this direction, this clarity, and then the action that you want people to take during these times. If you can take and turn this uncertainty, there's a term that the United States would use. It's called VUCA, V-U-C-A, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that was designed to define what's called the fog of war, which is kind of what you see on the modern battlefield. You see challenges coming from, guerrilla warfare and the press and the words that are being put into people's heads that are supposed to be engaged in, creating solutions, things like that. Turning off the power, turning off the fuel, the water, the food, telling people things. All that happens in business. It happens in business every day. So we have to take and look at it as a leader and say, okay, I get it. That's what's happening. I'm not afraid of it. I'm going to find a solution and an opportunity for it. That's my risk. Where is my outcome that I'm going to pursue? Because when this is all done, I'm going to come out on top. And then I'll add one more thing to this. I came up with two terms during the pandemic and in my leadership that I use a lot. The first one, presence creates trust. Presence creates trust. Trust is a leadership account that we all need to open with the people that we lead, or the people that are just remotely aware of us. When we open our leadership account, we make deposits in that account. Those deposits are in the form of presence. The more people see us, like on video here, not necessarily reading what we wrote, but see us and hear us talk. You can hear my voice. You can hear the crackle of my voice, the intimacy of this. The more you start trusting me. The more that happens, the more you believe in me and my leadership because I'm consistently there. The second phrase I came up with that I used a lot is top of mind is first in line. Top of mind is first in line. Now, what does that mean? That means when all of this settles down, you're going to remember who is top of mind first. So when you look for a leader, you're going to be like, Adam's a leader. I see a lot of him leading right now. I'm just going to go to him for leadership. Or maybe it's for education. Maybe you want to stand out in your space. Maybe it's for data analysis. Maybe it's for engineering. Maybe who knows what it's for. But if people think of you first, you go to the front of the line when it comes to their considerations of who they want to use for business, who they want to transact with in leadership, who they want to contact to create solutions, consulting, whatever it might be, even in a job interview. Top of mind is first in line. So think about those two sayings. Those two sayings wipe away that fog of war and help you align yourself to be that leader that's present and there. As you build that account of trust, people will come and ask you for that interaction, that transaction with your account.
So, and the aspect to this is that the business world is sort of constantly evolving, and especially with the Russia-Ukraine influence, and also after the pandemic. So that means it's important for leaders to stay ahead of the curve, and it's relevant like more than ever. So, with this rapidly changing landscape, what are your thoughts on the future of leadership, and how do you see leaders adapting to new challenges and opportunities?
Great question. I get asked about the future of leadership a lot, and I can tell you what the surveys are showing, and then I've held some seminars for different business leaders, and we've done roundtables and explored their challenges, things of that nature. Obviously, the challenges in the future of leadership are changing constantly. We have an economic situation globally that is unstable. We have a war going on with a major superpower. We have, some places we have increasing population, other places we have decreasing population. We have the emergence of electric vehicles. We have a lot more space level communication where it's a lot easier. I mean, we are thousands of miles away right now, and we're talking like we're next to each other. So there are a lot of evolution occurrences going on, not just in business, but in the general terms of the world and in leadership. Leaders need to have their arms around these concepts and understand, what do I do with them, and how do I create the greatest impact for those that I lead and those that I want to lead, those that I want to gather. The first one I've mentioned, you have to be present. If you're not present, none of the rest of this matters, okay? Because if you're not present and you're not depositing in this trust account, nobody is interested in hearing what you have to say as a leader. The second one, you have to be visible. And if you're visible, your communication skills must be up to par. Meaning, I have to be articulate, I have to be a good storyteller, I have to be enthusiastic, I have to smile. By the way, smiling is something that people lose when they get into leadership because for some reason they feel they have to be serious. The reality is we connect through facial expressions. 90% of communication is nonverbal. So why wouldn't I use that as a leader? So that's me and how I have to show up, and I have to be consistent, by the way. So I have to show up once a week. I have to be on social media. I have to be where my customers are and the people are that I am leading or want to lead. So that's aside. Let's talk about the mechanics in business now. First of all, I get asked a lot about AI. Okay, we've seen Chat GPT. Everybody's seen that. We've got Dolly, you've got Google's new, whatever that one is that just came out like this week. You've got Bing and Microsoft putting ChatGPT together. There's a lot going on with AI. I've been studying a fair amount of it. In fact, in 2018, I bought an AI company that could tell me when somebody was going to sell their house. And it was very accurate even in 2018. It's even more accurate today. But ultimately, what do we need to know? We need to understand that AI is not a crutch for leadership. It's a lever for leadership. If we use it to try and lead less, we are going to be disintermediated by the noise that people allow into their lives with AI. AI is fantastic. The language models, the data models, all of that is fantastic. But find a use for it. What is a use for it? Saving time, booking on your calendar, helping you write video scripts to deliver, hey, ChatGPT, act like a technology student in India. I would like to send something to them. What should I say? Things like that. But understand also that it can't replace your desire to gain knowledge. We have to continue to learn. Otherwise, we will be disintermediated, and then everybody will be paid a flat fee for being a human being, and we'll let the robots do the rest. Okay? We don't want that. We want to be leaders. We want to create wealth, future for our families, legacy, things like that. I mean, that's human nature. Why should we be interested in AI? We should be interested in AI because it can give us quicker information and thus more time. You must use these things to generate what you can't otherwise generate. We cannot create more time. But what we can do is we can reduce the amount of time it takes us to do research, to understand something, to develop an idea, to test an idea, things of that nature. Use it for that, but use your time to lead. And understand that, gaining more time because of AI doesn't give you more time to do nothing. It gives you more time to be effective. So AI has a great place in this world. It's going to continue to evolve very rapidly. I encourage you to learn about that. I encourage leaders to learn about that. Get ahead of the curve. Understand where this is going because it changes every day. Now, the second thing I get asked about, my business, running my business. And I say my business as in us. We're all, we're either a student, that's your business. If you're a student, you're trying to do the very best you can to get the very best grades you can to get that degree that you want and build your brand to get into the business that you want, the organization, a consulting firm, an engineering firm, who knows what it is. Maybe you want to be a startup. You better be learning. That's your investment into your future. Be investing in your future. Learn every day. And I know I've done graduate school work. I'm a professor of executive MBAs right now at a business school. I get it. It's a lot of work. But it's not necessarily what you learn that helps you. And that's important. What you learn is important. But what's more important is how you learn. How you learn. What we're doing by being good students and stewards of this knowledge is we're learning better, we're learning more efficiently, and we're learning how to manage ourselves, how to create impulse control. Do I get on social media? Or do I get on Forbes and Inc. and read an article about leadership? Or do I do a little research and gain a little knowledge on something? Learn to love learning. And you might feel burned out a little bit. You might feel like this is a heavy weight. To this day, I spend 1 to 2 hours a day learning probably. And I run businesses. I don't need to go get promoted. I don't need that. I'm great. But I love to learn. And what does that do? That helps me build a better business. Leaders will always love to learn. Now, one more thing, the future of leadership. Leadership has come back around quite extensively. We went through this period before the pandemic where business was happening really well. Okay, so this is after the Great Recession. We had the Great Recession, business started going back up. Business was happening really well. People were accidentally making money. Okay. It was happening. You could join a business. You're like, wow, we made our numbers. And nobody knows why. It was just happening. That stopped during the pandemic. We all shut down for a period of time and we had to rethink how we did our business, how we ran our businesses. A lot of those opened back up. Some of them skyrocketed because there was this clog in the pipe of business that had to empty out. Now we're back in a difficult time. The economy went down. Production went down. Supply chain went down. People went down. People are the biggest concern in this whole thing because people stopped giving a good effort to work. The future of leadership is reharnessing that effort, the short term. What's the number one concern of business leaders right now? It's not, everybody always says it's production. How do I make more money? No, it's how do I create more productivity out of my people? That's the biggest thing right now. It's how do I take, and by the way, the average worker gives you about 25% effort. I mean, really, they come to work with 25% of their effort. I mean, come on, that's it. How do we get that other 75% as a leader? What do you think causes that? It's not giving them more candy bars at the break. It's not having a nap room. Okay, what is it? It's helping them be better people and find that energy and that drive within to harness their why. Why am I here and giving so much into this organization? And it's a interpersonal connection. Them, the values of the organization, the ethics of the organization, and why that organization exists. And I don't mean, okay, the organization is into planting trees or something like that. That's great. We need that. We need to take care of our earth. But ultimately, is this company going to help me unlock my potential and achieve my goals and help me elevate those goals on a regular basis? It's interesting when you think about that, because I'm talking about somebody not even wanting to go to work and get a paycheck or going to work with 25% of their effort. And me as the leader, I'm going, okay, if I can get 75% of their effort, that's, 3 times more effort out of the same one person. I can select the talent that I want in this space and not have to worry about, oh, I can't hire enough people. I don't want to just hire everybody. I want to hire the best people for this job. So in order to hire the best people, I have to be the place that I can unlock the potential of the best people and lead them effectively. And that means I have to be demonstrating that to everybody as well as the leader. Now, here's the last one. Let me give you the last one here. And this is really important because this is where leaders fall down the most. This is where leaders can crush a company, can destroy employees, can ruin shareholder value, and that's they don't lead themselves. To be a leader, you have to lead yourself first. And I encourage you all to start today if you don't have this process going. You have to not only do a good job right now in your studies or in your business, that's your business. If you're a student, is doing the best work product you can and getting ahead of it. Finish it before it's due, by the way. You'll feel so much better about it. But think about this. Am I leading myself? Am I taking care of this? Because I only get one of these in life. I get one, and it's the one I'm in right now. This is the one I get to use right now today. Take care of it. Am I taking care of my health? Am I taking care of my nutrition? So am I exercising? Am I taking 10,000 steps a day? Am I eating well? Do I understand what it means to eat well? What are calories? What's protein? What are carbohydrates? What's fat? How much water am I drinking? For crying out loud, look at this thing. I drink like 4 of those a day of water. Why? Because it's good for you. And I learned to love water. But this gives me the energy to be what I want to be. The other thing, my relationships. What are your relationships like? I can promise you that businesses fail because leaders fail their relationships. When you have a leader whose marriage is failing, that translates into how they treat other people and how they work in their business. What do I do with that? I make sure that my relationships are sound. I make sure that I communicate my love to the people in my life, that I'm kind to the people that I talk to. I had a phone call today with somebody who was they were like, I don't know, 2,000 kilometers away. They were a long ways away, okay? Long ways away from me. And I talked to this person like I'd known him forever. And we had a joyful conversation. And we did business together because we enjoyed talking to each other. We were happy. We were talking about the weather, just life. I mean, I could have called up and just been completely transactional. I'd like to make this purchase, please. Okay, what's your credit card number? Okay, here you go. All right, thanks. Bye. I mean, that's not how it was. And what happened? We're going to do business again as a result of that. I took care of the relationships. I told her that I appreciated her. Thank you for being so kind to me today. It was so nice to talk to you. Use compliments. I mentioned smiling. Here's the thing. Smiles are free and you never run out of them, ever. I teach an executive presence course to MBA students, and I talk to them about smile talking. When you're talking, you're smiling. Why? It's a sign of gratitude and appreciation. It makes a difference. So watch your leaders. Are they taking care of themselves? Are they taking care of the people in their relationships? And are they learning? Is their financial situation sound? Because if they're struggling financially, then they're going to struggle financially with the business's finances. Do they cut corners and allow mediocrity? Those things all matter. So that was a long answer, but it was incredibly important because it puts the whole leadership together, that if you're not doing all of these things, you can't be a leader. It starts with you and at home and in your relationships and how you treat yourself, because that will translate how you treat others and how you lead your company.
So you have talked about the importance of maintaining a positive outlook, and also maintaining a balance between personal and professional lives. Which brings me to my next question: how important is emotional intelligence and empathy in leading effectively? And can you share any personal experience or lessons that you have learned in this regard?
Yes, great question. So the two key foundational parts of leadership are emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. Now, let me define those real quick. Emotional intelligence is awareness of self, awareness of others, and awareness of our interaction. So how am I? How are you? And how are we doing? Okay. Now, emotional maturity is impulse control. It's my ability to control my actions, which obviously you can see how that goes into emotional intelligence. You know, if I have too much to drink and I'm a jerk and I'm sending text messages out in the middle of the night criticizing your work product, that's neither. That's not emotional maturity. That's not emotional intelligence. So when you think of emotional maturity, I want you to think about your schedule. If you look at your schedule and you allow your day to happen, you're struggling with your emotional maturity. If you look at your schedule and you make your day happen the way that you want it, you block out time and you stick to that, and you're very selective as to what you say yes to and what you say no to, and you also don't allow impulses to come into your life. So impulse control is a big deal. Do you sit down and start scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or something like that, and next thing you know, an hour has passed and you've lost the ability to harness a thoughtful and a productive time in your day? So we have to have both emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. Harness your emotional maturity and then be super aware of your emotional intelligence. So I talk about the 3 A's of leadership. I mentioned 2 of them: awareness of yourself, awareness of others, and I add awareness of the business. There's an emotional intelligence for leaders to be aware of your business and how your business feels. Is it tense? If you were to assign an emotion to your business, what would that be? Would it be happy? Would it be productive? Would it be overwhelmed? Would it be struggling and stressed? So understanding emotional intelligence is a big deal. Now, leaders who lack emotional intelligence, and you might have heard the term narcissist, okay? Narcissism is a fault creating a lack of emotional intelligence. Narcissists do not make good leaders. Extremely emotionally intelligent people do. So you want to have an understanding of, how do I treat myself? How do I treat others? How impulsive am I? Do I create worry or do I create clarity? So all of those things play in to leadership. If you're lacking the emotional aspects of leadership, emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, you're not going to make a leader. You're not going to become a leader. You're going to manage people. Okay? I mean, and you might even struggle to do that. But there's a difference between leading people and managing projects. Managing projects or understanding the time frame and the processes and things like that. But there's no people involvement. It's structural. You manage the structure of it. Ultimately, what it boils down to is people will look to you and say, does this person care so much about me that I want to do my very best for them? That's really what the deciding factor in emotional intelligence is. By the way, this is not a popularity contest. I have no desire to be friends with a lot of my employees. We just don't have the same interests. But I want them to care about their success as much as I care about their success. That's important. I don't have to go have a drink with them or go out to dinner with them or something like that. We do every now and then, just as a business function, and we enjoy ourselves. But the reality is, on the weekend, if I'm going to go, for a hike or whatever, I'm not calling them to do that. That's fine. I still love them as a human being and I care about them. But, we don't have to be friends, but I need to care about them. And I need to care about their welfare and their success. And I mentioned the rest of your life. I care that they have a good life as well. And frankly, you can tell when somebody comes to the office or to class or whatever, and their home life is a wreck. It's clear. There's somebody on this call that's going, oh, that's me. Fix that. Fix it. And you'll be so much happier that you did, and you'll watch the success continue to rise in your life. So, back to you.
So, we have talked about having leadership is about more of a we than me, right? So, can you share some of your views on how to build a strong and a cohesive team, and how can leaders foster a culture of collaboration in their own organizations?
So there are 3 types of thought, and you mentioned me and we. There's me, which is how an employee thinks. They're thinking about themselves. Okay, we have to understand these as a leader in order to harness their capabilities and help them progress through these. So there's me. I'm an individual. I'm an employee. There's we. So let's say I'm a manager and I have a team. Or a director or something like that, or I'm a head of something, and I have my team. So I'm thinking about my team. I don't care about anything else. I care about my team. And then there's the THEE, which is the organization as a whole. So me, we, thee. Thee is a giving mindset, not a protecting mindset. The team leader is a protecting mindset. I'm going to protect my team. I'm going to filter out all of the challenges that the business gives me from above, and I'm going to protect my team. And then obviously the employees, like, I'm going to protect myself. I'm self-protecting here, self-serving. We have to rise to the top of this as a leader. when we rise to the top of this as a leader and think of the organization, when we create organizational success, everybody wins. So when we take a look at how do you do that, first of all, listen to the words that people use. If you hear a leader talking about I or my, so some leaders will say, my vice presidents, my CFO, my engineers. That's not a company mindset. That is a possessive mindset, not a giving mindset. It's a possessive mindset. Similarly, when you hear employees talking about my paycheck, talking about my hours, talking about, oh, is that going to give me extra work? I don't normally do that. Things like that. That's a possessive mindset. We have a saying in my businesses, and that's that everybody carries the boxes. Everybody carries the box. I don't care if you're the CEO or the chairman of the board, or if you're the newest employee at the very whatever location in the business, the mailroom or the receptionist, or who knows what you do. I don't care who it is. We all carry the boxes, and we all give into the organization. Because when we build this organizational culture of it's much easier for everybody to understand what the direction of the company is, what are the goals of the company, and how do I contribute to that. Great example here. 1964, United States President John F. Kennedy is walking through NASA, the space organization in the United States. And he finds a man who's mopping the floor. And he walks up to him, he says, "What do you do here?" Man looked at him, he said, "I put a man on the moon. That's what I do here." This guy's he's a cleaner, he's a janitor, and he's mopping the floor. And he tells the president his job is to put a man on the moon. That tells you that everybody in that organization is aligned in what that organization does. That's the thought process. He's not worried about going home at a certain time. He's worried about that organization getting a man on the moon. Now, they were able to do it in 1969, which is great because everybody had the same focus in the organization. That's what leaders develop. They develop the alignment and the continuity and that focus and the effort that everybody has. Because if the salesperson is walking down the hall and the receptionist sees that salesperson has a strange look on their face, like they're having a difficult time, and that receptionist says, "How's it going?" This was a difficult day. I'm struggling with my sales calls. Hey, let's talk for a minute. How can I help you? How can I help you make that sale? There's always these different conflicts in a business. A great example is sales and marketing, okay? Or sales and legal, or engineering and technology, or marketing and who knows what. I mean, there's always these conflicts because everybody gets into these silos in the business. But what if we all worked for each other? And I always have a question that I ask leaders, and that is, would you want to work for yourself? Would you want to work for you? And would you be unlocking your potential in doing that and helping you be the best that you can in the business? So hopefully that puts a little bit of a mindset. And this is interesting. All of these things I'm talking about, this all starts up here and in here with leaders. It's not, and we learn a lot of great things in university and our graduate school and our MBAs and all the rest of that stuff. But ultimately, they don't teach you how to be a person. They teach you ideas and philosophy, but it comes down to, how can I smile talk? How can I have awareness of myself and awareness of others and awareness of the business? How can I provide clarity and overcome overwhelm and fear and doubt and help this business move forward because I'm giving into instead of letting people be protectionist in their mindsets? Back to you.
Then finally, I mean, as we look towards the future, so what do you see as the biggest challenges facing leaders in the coming decade, and how do you see leadership evolving in response to all these challenges?
This is really an interesting question because this morning on the CEO daily briefing that Fortune magazine puts out, they talked exactly about this. And they talked about different CEO challenges, particularly in this really dynamic period that we're in. And I say dynamic period, it's not going to stop being dynamic. Okay, people? It doesn't get easier, we just get better. All right? So consider that. It does not get easier, we just get better in everything. Nothing gets easier. We're not going back to the days that we're riding horses and, gonna catch dinner and sit around the fire and talk about how much fun it was. Not going back there. We have to get better. We have to evolve because frankly, human beings are kind of evolving a little bit slower than the world is. So we need to catch up. But how do we do that as a leader? First of all, we have to understand that the more we add to our lives and to the overwhelm that we face, the more distracted we get and the less effort we put forth in accomplishing the key focus points of our business. So when you go back to a business does not do much. And you should be able to ask any business leader, or really anybody in a business, what do you do? What are the 3 things that you do in your business? If they can't tell you the 3 things they do in their business, they don't know what they do in their business. So when I look at my job at Remax, running Remax Holdings CEO, I had 3 things I did: sell franchises, recruit and retain agents, and collect the money. That's it. Now, there are little adaptations that occur in 2 of those. Really collect the money, just collect the money. The CFO would manage the taxes and, how we deal with all that. That's great. But sell franchises, recruit and retain agents. We had to make a little adaptations, like buying AI for them or redirecting marketing. We did a brand refresh where we redesigned. I was in charge of redesigning the Remax hot air balloon. So went through the process of studying thousands of people's impressions, what causes strength and weakness in real estate, and what do you look for in a logo and why and things like that. But you make these little bitty tweaks that fall under those 3 large pillars of your organization. So what are the large pillars of the organization, and has the CEO veered from those? Now, it's okay to pivot. It's okay to pivot. You look at Blockbuster and Netflix, okay? We all study Blockbuster and Netflix in our business. We all study Tesla and Ford in our business. We study all of these different companies that have had somebody come in and take a great deal of market share in their space. Now, most of these businesses have adapted. Ford makes electric vehicles. In fact, they're one of the top electric vehicle makers in the United States. Great. They also have the #1 sold pickup truck in the United States. I know Elon Musk is going after the pickup truck market and the electric vehicle market with the Cybertruck. I have one on order, by the way. I do have a Tesla, but I also have a Ford pickup truck. I'm on both sides of the game here. So, but the reality is, you look at the evolution of these businesses and what are the leaders doing to make these slight changes? What does it take to make slight changes? It takes risk. And it takes an appetite for that risk in order for you to do what's best for your shareholders, your customers, your employees. So as a leader, we need to continuously look at this. We need to understand, where are those risks at? How do we adapt to those? Let's look down the road a little way and see what kind of challenges we're going to face. Economics, data and AI, we know that's a challenge. How do we integrate that? How does that fit into marketing, which fits into sales, which fits into our collection of money, and then back around to understanding the leading indicators and our analysis of what creates the money. But And this is the big one. What's changing in the consumer also? So one of the big challenges right now is, okay, how do we, and Forrester Research did some recent study on this. What makes a great company? A great company is made by great customer experience and obsession with the results that customer gets. Great customer experience, the obsession the results that customer gets. Now, what's customer experience? Like if you go to Disney, for example, Disneyland or Disney World, you're not going to an amusement park. Yeah, there are rides there, but you can go on those rides at any amusement park. You're going to an experience. People want experiences. Look at the latest generation, Generation Alpha or Generation A. After Generation Z or Zeta, Generation A is the youngest generation entering the workforce right now. They would rather spend money on going on trips and experiences than buying actual assets, actual goods. They're also putting off investing in their retirement in their future in order to have experience now instead of when they're 65 years old. So how do we incorporate all of these things into our businesses? That's what leaders are facing right now. How do I get their attention, get their trust and confidence so that they would want to do business with me? And I can promise you there's one good way. It's to be present. I have 3 kids, I have a 20-year-old and 2 22-year-olds. And you know where they go to find out about a business before they do business with them? YouTube. They go watch a video about the business. And then they go, who's the CEO? They know CEOs impact all of this. Who's the CEO? What are their values? Are they even on video, online? I have a great deal of video presence. I always have. And I've actually had people do millions of dollars worth of business with me because of that. They call me up and they say, Adam, I saw your videos. I'm like, do I know you? And they're like, no, but I've watched your videos and I believe in you, your values, and your organization. So how do we combine all these things together? We go back to what is a leader? A leader is somebody who's present, who creates influence through their values and their trust. That's one of the challenges that leaders have, because CEOs want to go sit behind a closed door someplace and not be present. We got to break that. That's not the future. The future is this. Me getting on this call, you're on the other side of the world, and we're on this call talking about leadership. And you're going, okay, I know this guy. I've made deposits in the trust account between myself and all of the participants on this call. That's what leadership is, and that's the challenge we have to get over. So by the way, and I'll wrap it up with this. I make my leadership course, I talk about executive presence. They have to send me a video. They have to shoot a video and send it to their professor with 3 key points about executive presence and executive leadership. And it scares the heck out of so many of them because this is vulnerable. But that's okay, because you got to do your first one and it's going to be bad. Might as well get it out of the way. So get used to being present, get used to exhibiting and putting your leadership out there, and don't just go and sit someplace in your computer and think that that is how you're going to grow as a leader. You got to do all that. You got to learn every day. You got to balance all your emotions, emotional intelligence, emotional maturity. You have to have a good life, your relationships, your health, your happiness. I get up at 5 a.m. every morning and go work out, exercise for an hour, drink all my water, love my family and my friends, and I lead. And that's the biggest challenge, is to put that package together for leaders moving forward. Back to you.
So thank you for the session. So you have talked about the importance of breaking down barriers, challenging the status quo, and also inspiring others to achieve their own greatness. You have also talked about balancing with all these practical considerations of running a business, especially with all these the economic climate and all these pressures that you have. So we'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us today and share expertise and all these insights about the future of leadership. And obviously, your unique background and experience has provided us with invaluable knowledge and advice. And I'm sure that this will help our members and many individuals to thrive in the future. And so we look towards to following your journey, and we wish you all success in your future endeavors. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you for having me here. I just put my website up on the chat for anybody. It's adamcontos.com. You can also find me on social media, Adam Contos CEO, and please connect. Love to stay in touch with everybody and help you in your leadership. And you know, this group has a great opportunity because you're learning about these things right now. You don't have to. I had to learn about them by making the mistakes. Listen to this information and use it, and it will help you accelerate. So thank you so much for having me on. You know, adamcontos.com, you can contact me there, or you can find me on the social, and I will hope to see you all at some point in the future.